Anxiety is no stranger for most autistics. Today, I'm going to share with you 17 anxiety triggers for autistic adults. So let's get started. Hey, Define Yourselfers, I am Chris Mitchell from theconfidentautistic.com. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. I'm an autistic adult, late diagnosed, an advocate for autistic adults, and a digital creator empowering other autistic adults and the entire world to embrace autism confidently. Now, if this resonates with you, please consider supporting our channel. You can show your support by liking and sharing this video. And the best way to show your support is by subscribing to this channel. And when you subscribe, do not forget to ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted and when I go live right here on this channel. What I'm going to share with you today is not an exhaustive list of everything that can trigger anxiety within you. This is just a general list. And some of these will apply to you. Some of them may apply to other people in our spectrum. And there may be things that cause you anxiety that are not on this list. And I encourage you to share those in the comments on this video or in the conversation in my Facebook group, Autistic Adults Embracing Autism. One of the first things that causes anxiety for those of us on the spectrum is a change in routine. Now, obviously, this channel is more geared towards adults who are on the spectrum, especially those who are in midlife, adult age. But the change in routine applies to pretty much everyone on the spectrum, even the youngest of our autistic brothers and sisters. And this is a trigger for anxiety, because we like our routines. I mean, we're like professional athletes. We are a creature of habit, and we need those habits to really be at our peak performance. And when our routines are disrupted, what can happen is we lose that sense of control. We lose that sense of predictability, that normal, the status quo. And when that is taken away and things are no longer predictable, that's when we start feeling anxious. New or different environments also can trigger anxiety in us. Like I mentioned before, we like routine, we like normalcy, but something new or different it's unknown to us. We don't know what to expect. Maybe it could be a new person in our life, a new family member who just joined the family by marriage or whatever, or somebody having a kid or grandkid. This changes the family dynamics. So this is something new or different in our environments, and until we get used to it, this can cause us anxiety. Lack of sleep is another contributing factor for anxiety. And this is really a challenging one for us because many of us on the spectrum, myself included, have trouble going to sleep and have trouble getting a good night's sleep because we wake up during the middle of the night for whatever reason. But lack of sleep means the next day we're not going to be working at full power because we're tired. And when we are tired and not working at full strength, things are going to get to us more where we will have more moments of anxiety because we won't have the strength to battle away that anxiety and to calm ourselves and reassure ourselves everything is fine. Now, a big trigger, and I say big because a lot of sub-factors within it, is sensory issues can be a cause for anxiety. And some of the sensory issues that can cause us anxiety include crowds. This is one for me. I really don't care that much for crowded environments. Normally, if I'm in a crowded environment, it's not somewhere I normally am at. I don't normally go to a baseball game every day or a concert. So I'm in a new or different environment. And then you add a crowd to it. This causes me more anxiety. Like at a ballpark, I get anxious a little bit about not remembering or being able to find where my seat is, or all these people surrounding me, and I feel claustrophobic. I do have claustrophobia. So, this is one of the sensory issues. The crowds can cause us that. Now, when there's crowds, there's often a lot of noise. How often are you in a crowd that's extremely silent? Now, somebody presenting on stage and you're watching in the audience, that's different than the crowd. They're usually quite respectful, listening to the presenter. But a lot of crowds are noisy environments. You go to the zoo, crowds, there's noise. You go to amusement parks, there's crowds, noise. Baseball games, any sporting event. Well, most sporting events. Tennis is kind of quiet though, and golf is too. But most sporting events or a concert, there's going to be crowds, and with this crowd, there's noise, and that can lead to anxiety. Another sensory issue is too much light. Now, before I get into that, I do want to go back to too much noise for a second, because the opposite can be true. Sometimes, for those of us who are sensory seeking, if there's not enough noise, that can cause us anxiety. And the same is with too much light. For those of us who are sensitive to light, too much light can cause us anxiety. For those of us who are sensory seeking and seek out light, if we're in a dark room, that can cause us anxiety because there's not enough light. Another sensory issue that can lead to anxiety is smells. And again, it could be too much of a strong smell that's unpleasant to you, or not enough smells to fulfill your sensory needs. Some people may be very attracted and calmed by the smell of a lavender candle. And if there's not one burning all the time, it may cause you to feel anxious. Natural disasters is a cause for anxiety. And I think this is pretty much a no brainer. Whether you're autistic or allistic, a natural disaster, especially if you're involved with it or someone close to you is involved and been affected by this natural disaster, you're going to have anxiety. If I'm here in Missouri, which I am, and there's a hurricane or remnants of a hurricane that's hitting Alabama heavily. My sister-in-law lives in Alabama, and I can't get a hold of her during that disaster. I'm going to feel anxious about how she's doing and what's going on with my niece-in-law. So, yeah, it could be a natural disaster you're in or a natural disaster somewhere else that affects people you know. Now, some of us will get very anxious for a natural disaster, even if we're not involved in it, we don't know anyone in it. The best example of this is, and I mean no disrespect by using this example, is I don't think just autistics had anxiety from this, but allistics did as well. The tragic events of 9/11 on 2001. That was that was not a natural disaster. That was a man-made disaster. But it can be similar to a natural disaster because it was a disaster that happened and we all became anxious about it. And if you live in a part of the country like I do, and you hear of a tornado outbreak in Oklahoma, which I'm not that far from, I'm near the Oklahoma border, then you may become anxious about is there going to be a tornado outbreak up here? We had a devastating tornado near where I live, Joplin, Missouri, in 2011. It was an EF5, took about 160 lives. I want to say 157, 158. Some reports said 162, so I'm going to say about 160. And that was um, down in Joplin, which where it hit was probably about 8 miles from my house. Now, the original path of this tornado, this is not a joke. I have a friend that's a storm chaser, and he was following it that day and giving me updates, was for my neighborhood. The storm shifted and went south, but it was originally going to take out my neighborhood. So, a natural disaster like that has caused some anxiety with storms for people because of the devastating effect they can see. We get anxious that that can happen to us. Another sensory issue that can trigger anxiety is food. This includes the sight of certain food, the texture, taste, smell, or the sounds you hear when people are eating or when yourself are eating a particular food. For me, I'll be honest with you, some foods, I don't think it causes me anxiety. They look weird. I don't eat salads. I know they show these pictures. Oh, the bright orange and the yellow and the green together. How beautiful that looks. It doesn't look. It looks like fall leaves on the ground. I don't want to eat leaves. Okay, so look, that looks disgusting to me. So a side of it causes me some anxiety when it's on my plate, because if it's on your plate, back in my day, and probably many of yours, if it's on your plate, you can't leave the table till you clean the plate. So you got to eat whatever mom put on your plate. So there's some anxiety about that. The texture. For me, I don't care for the texture of peas in particular. I don't like that, and I don't like the texture of spinach. Oh, gosh, not even give me spinach. It's slimy to me. I don't like it. Taste. I'm a fussy eater, and there's a lot of things I just don't like the taste of. And smell. I love my wife. I say this in every video, and I truly mean it. But some of the stuff she likes to eat, Chinese food in particular, has a smell that makes me wonder, how can you put that in your mouth after it passes under your nose with that smell? Another 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 sensory issue that can cause anxiety is clothing. For those of us who are sensitive to the touch of clothing on us, several of us have that. I actually do to some extent. I don't like wearing clothing. I do in these videos because you're not ready to see the real me. But when I'm not doing videos in the office and I don't have anyone around me, I go around without a shirt on. But so clothing and some of the texture of clothing can cause anxiety. Two textures that drive me batty, and I don't know if they called me anxiety or not, because I refuse to wear them. It's corduroy, which was really popular in the 70s, and I hated my mom giving me corduroy pants. It drove me batty all day, and it distracted me. I did not like the feel of it. And flannel. I don't like the feel of flannel. It bothers me, and I don't know if it gets the anxiety level, because as soon as I touch it, I'd like get it gone. So I don't wait that long to see if it causes anxiety. Showers is another sensory issue that can cause anxiety for people who are on the spectrum. Some people on the spectrum don't like the sensation we feel with that pouring water coming down on us. Others enjoy it. Now, on the other hand, I don't like it coming over my head where it gets to my ears and all, and makes me feel like I'm drowning. I don't like that. It is a trigger for me. But I enjoy um, turning the water. I like really hot water when I shower, and I have a head hold shower head because I sit down in the shower when I take a shower, and I love the sensation it gives me when I get that nice hot water all on my back and it pounding against me. I love that. I crave that. But some people, a shower, it causes them anxiety to have to deal with the water, the noise, all of that stuff. Maybe the steam that comes up may be a sensory trigger. Those things can cause you anxiety. You know those things are going to happen during a shower. So when a shower is suggested, you start feeling anxious. Brushing teeth is another thing, a sensory issue that can lead to anxiety. Some of us on the spectrum just don't like the feel of the toothbrush on our teeth. I, as a kid, I've talked about this in other videos, I'm not the best at taking care of my teeth, and I'm going to be paying for that later in my life. I know that. But I did not like the taste or the feel of the toothpaste, because my mom would always get us Pepsodent back in the 70s, and it's like I hated Pepsodent. It's horrible. That's why I fought brushing my teeth. I wanted Crest. And the reason I wanted Crest was Crest had blue in it, and I love blue. Blue is my soothing color. And my mom always said, "We can't afford Crest." And I'm thinking, can you afford me going to the dentist every 6 months and having a cavity filled? Which is cheaper, Mom? I say plop down the Crest, but I never got Crest in my life. Occasionally Colgate, and I didn't like the taste of Colgate. And also, when I was a kid, the toothpaste were more like paste. Now they have gels and stuff. I love the gels. But yeah, some of the sensory issues from brushing your teeth, maybe even feeling the toothbrush against your teeth, is sensitive to you. That can cause you anxiety, knowing you got to brush your teeth. You want to keep them. Remember, be true to your teeth, or they'll be false to you. Uh, you need to do those things, and knowing that you feel anxious whenever it's time to brush your teeth. And final sensory sensitivity I like to discuss that can lead to anxiety is dental or medical issues. I've not seen a dentist in a long time, way more than I should have been putting it off. I know that. And medical issues. I don't like medical procedures. I have issues with IVs and things being stuck into my body that's best not stuck into my body. So I'm very anxious about that. I'm even anxious about going to the doctor. I mean, as a kid, I remember going to my mom and say, "Okay, we're going to see the pediatrician, right? Do I get a shot this time?" And I was anxious. Am I going to get a shot or not? And and it drove me nuts, drove my mom nuts because I drove her crazy asking about it. I don't like medical procedures. I go and see my doctor because I'm on some medicine. I have some health issues, but I like to keep things status quo. And I probably do not tell my doctor certain things at times to avoid, oh, we need to run this test and it's going to be an unpleasant experience for you. Now, all these sensory sensitivities we just talked about can lead to, and often does, sensory overload. And sensory overload can be a trigger for anxiety. Executive functioning struggles can also cause you anxiety. I'm sure that does not surprise anyone, but when you're not functioning and thinking clearly, you're going to feel more anxious about things, including struggling to get across what we want to communicate. When we having executive functioning problems, we may struggle more to express what we are wanting to share with others that are around us. Another issue that causes us to feel anxious or could contribute to anxiety is feeling behind in life. It's been said, and I've said it in other videos, that as autistics, we often feel like the Aulistics got the manual for how to navigate life. And we either didn't get it or we didn't understand it, one of the two. And we feel like we're always behind our autistic peers that are our age, sometimes even younger, seem to have it more together than we do and figure out social dynamics, intricacies, social cues, uh, you know, small talk, uh, the political game at work, whatever. And we feel like we don't get that. We're behind. I know I to this day, I'm 58 at the time of recording this video. I'm 58. I don't feel 58. Okay. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't feel 58. I feel a lot younger. And I don't doubt them. I don't disbelieve them. But for me, when I say I feel a lot younger, I still feel like I'm in my 20s. And there are times I play with toys. I mean, let me see if I can get this here. I got me this little Kia Soul. I love the Kia Soul. And the commercials, the hamsters, man, those were cool. Anyway, so I got me a little Kia Soul toy for my desk. And I know it's hard to see in the camera, but it is blue. It's a really dark, kind of metallic blue. I wanted a real blue one, but this is as close as I can get because, I like blue. And I play with some toys during the day. So I feel like I'm behind in life and I'm immature. And when that gets to you, you let that get to you, and you focus in on it, you can start feeling anxious that you are inferior, which you're not, but you will feel this, that you're inferior to your autistic peers that are your same age. Which leads us to our next anxiety trigger, feeling different from others. I do. I think most of us who are on the spectrum do feel that we're different from others. And we may even know that we're different. I mean, I dress in this polo shirt and all when I do these videos, but most of the time, if I'm wearing a shirt, because we talked about that a moment ago, it's a it's a t-shirt and it has something goofy on it, like a cartoon character or a funny saying or something. I mean, I don't dress like the typical 58-year-old. I still wear blue jeans or shorts and a t-shirt and a baseball cap and tennis shoes everywhere I go. I still dress as if I'm young, like I'm still in high school or college. So I do feel that I'm different from people. I know that I interpret things differently. I know that I take things literally. I know that. I know that I can have meltdowns where most of my autistic peers don't have meltdowns. And that makes me feel that I'm different from others because I know it. And that can cause me anxiety in situations when it's really apparent to me that a friend of mine can have this great conversation and they can understand and want to eat this, I call it high pollutant food. Actually, I call it eating like a Frasier. I'm a norm. I like the simple stuff in life. That's a Cheers reference, by the way. And then they will eat this. Oh, I would like to order baklava and all this other stuff. And I'm looking at the waiter. You have a hamburger? A kid, I'll take one of the items from the kids menu. That'd be fine for me. I don't care. But yeah, when you do feel different than others, and especially when you're around others, that can cause you to feel anxious because you feel like you're sticking out like a sore thumb. That everyone notices that. And we're going to get to that point in a moment. Another thing that is great at causing anxiety is masking autistic traits. The more we the more we mask or the longer we mask at one time, the more anxious we may feel and will feel because we're afraid, is someone seeing through this? How long can I keep this up? Is someone noticing that I'm faking it through this? And that will wear on us and we get anxious, and that's why when we're masking for a while, we need to take breaks. It's okay to take breaks. Physical pain and illness can also cause anxiety. I know for me, when I have physical pain or especially illness, I'm afraid I have this anxiety. It's probably an unfound fear. It is because I've recovered from putting everything that I've had as an illness. That I'm sick and I'm never going to get well. I mean, that goes through that and it scares me and it makes me very anxious when I'm sick. Here's one that surprised me. Okay, I gotta be honest with you, and I realize I've done this to myself. This is a perfect example of self-sabotage. Too much caffeine. How many of you, let's just be honest, you can share it in the comments or in the conversation in the group. How many of you drink way too much caffeine? Go to Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop every day and get that caffeine filled cup of coffee, which, by the way, did you know you can make coffee at home and it's a lot cheaper? Just saying. How many of you do that? In my case, well, I'll tell you what I did in a moment. Whenever I think of people going to Starbucks, I remember seeing a question somewhere, and I don't remember where. It's just a question, nobody answered it. It's a funny question. What is a barista's biggest fear? My answer to that is that their customers can realize they can make coffee at home. Your barista, I'm sorry, I had to break that to you. Be extremely nice to your customers because they can do this themselves in their homes. Okay, they got this. You can just go online, get a Mr. Coffee, you're fine. But what I do is I used to, and I'm much better now. I used to drink a 12 pack of Pepsi a day. And that resulted in diabetes. And now I'm down to 2 to 3 cans a week. Friday night's pizza night here at my house. So you can't have pizza with water or milk. So I have 1 can of Pepsi, maybe two, with my pizza on Friday night. So 1 or 2 a week, I mean, that's not bad. But too much caffeine can get us all hyped up. And then we feel anxiety. Now, I've read some studies and reports and have heard that caffeine actually has the opposite effect on people with ADHD. It calms them down. I've also been diagnosed with ADHD, and caffeine does help calm me down from my ADHD side. But at the same time, having too much of it can cause anxiety. A big thing that can cause us anxiety is discrimination. Whether we're being discriminated against because of our disability in our community, our autism, or we fear being discriminated against because we are autistic adults. And this often causes us to mask more and to hide who our authentic selves are, which leads to anxiety. That's why I'm a big supporter of unmasking, sharing your autism with people. I'm out about it. I mean, I go in public, I wear shirts that say autism, a different way of seeing things. Oh, no, it says autism, seeing things differently. I'm sorry, I misquoted it. And I have on this hat up here a little autism proud uh, infinity loop that I wear, and I look for opportunities to tell people in public that I'm a late diagnosed autistic adult, and tell them about my YouTube channel because obviously I'm trying to grow the audience, right? But yeah, feeling discriminated against is a major contributor to fear, to anxiety. That is because fear is a major contributing factor to anxiety. Unable to identify your own emotions. This happens to me more than I would like to admit. There are times, for example, I can be sitting here on the verge of crying. And I don't know why. I cannot identify why. I can barely identify and feeling sad, but I feel like crying. And that causes me so much anxiety. It's like, I need to identify this emotion so I know how to react to it and how to process it so I can work through it and get back to the things I need to be doing. But when you're unable to identify emotions, you're going to feel anxious because you're thinking, my autistic peers, they can identify their emotions. I can't. And that's going to cause you anxiety. Feelings that others perceive us as different or autistic. And this means even if we're not told them and we think we're doing great at masking, we're fearing that somebody sees a crack in our mask and they're already uh, labeled us, or I hate the word label, but they already suspect that we're autistic and we've not told them. And we're thinking it leads to us having the fear of discrimination because we're thinking, that person thinks how are they going to discriminate against me? How are they going to judge me? So this could get way out of control of our mind. Our minds can run away with us and take us down a very dark rabbit hole that will cause us a lot of anxiety. Separation anxiety is another contributing factor of anxiety. And I can tell you from my own experience of that. I don't think it's uncommon in our community. I don't do it that much at this age of my life, but I did it a lot when I was younger. I became probably unhealthily attached to some friends, okay? Where if I did not see that person every single day, or if that person, if I said hi to them and they said, oh, hi, because something was on their mind or the thing, but I would take it personally. And if they weren't there, I would go nuts. Separation anxiety can lead to it if we get too attached to someone or something. The other day, I went for a haircut, and I accidentally left this needle ball at home. And it was a very anxious time for me because I didn't know what to do with my hands there, and I didn't know how another way to stim. It's driving me nuts. So I separation anxiety from this, for not having my needle ball with me, and that led to anxiety while I was getting a haircut. Now, the final one that contributes to anxiety is a fun word, and there's a fun story to this: catastrophizing. Okay. When my wife had her seizure and she was in the hospital and unable to really make decisions because she had a grand mal seizure, she was not thinking in her right mind at that time. And I had to make all the medical decisions. And I was meeting with I think it's neurologist who did the surgery on her back to fix the back injury she had when she had the seizure and fell on the floor. Um, I kept asking, what did this happen? What did this happen? All these things that could go wrong. And he told me, you got to stop catastrophizing. Then he said, I don't even know if that's a word. Well, it is. So, and catastrophizing is picturing the worst case scenario and dwelling on it. Now, in my life with my wife, I've always had this policy since we first started dating: prepare for the worst and pray for the best. But you can get so focused in on what's the worst that can happen. This is going to go wrong. That and catastrophizing and seeing all these worst case scenarios that in itself will cause you anxiety. Now it is your turn. Share in the comments or in the conversation in our Facebook group. What are some things that causes you anxiety that I did not mention on this list? What from this list resonated with you? I would love to hear your comments. I do read each and every one of them. Even though I may not respond to them, I do read each and every one of them. So please share with me in the comments and with other autistic adults. anxiety triggers for you. There's no judgment here. It's safe to do. And if you want to say, I have a friend who, and that friend could be you because you should be your best friend, that's fine. Whatever is comfortable for you, share it. We can all learn from each other. I'm sure this has not been an exhaustive list, and I would love to know what triggers you to experience anxiety. So until next time, this is Chris Mitchell, aka the Confident Autistic, reminding you that now is the time for you to embrace autism confidently. Join me live Thursday nights for the Confident Autistic Live, where I answer your questions, we discuss this week's videos, offer support, and more. The fun starts Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time in the US of A. Be sure to click the bell when you subscribe to the channel to be notified when the party begins.